can't believe it. Harvard. Those Ponzi schoolboys. Those retards from Boston. They're the only ones to show any goddamn spine in this authoritarian encroachment?
I hope you're ready. I'm about to perform a public disservice.
So Jimmy Kimmel gets canceled. Not by advertisers or by a woke mob, but by Donald Trump's government henchmen. Pay attention here, because this is a lot more important, a lot bigger than just one crappy TV show, one slain podcaster. This is a First Amendment test case. And the way this played out, I'm not sure if it's malfeasance or actual outright criminal extortion. Let's just quickly go over the timeline. Middle of 2025, Stephen Colbert gets canceled. Mysteriously linked to a lawsuit between Trump and CBS that suddenly vanished afterwards. Whatever. Trump celebrates and says publicly, longtime Trump critic Jimmy Kimmel is next. Well, they go back and forth a couple times, yada, yada, yada. Jimmy keeps making jokes. Suddenly, some lunatic wastes Charlie Kirk, and Jimmy Kimmel calls out MAGA world over some hypocrisy, trying to score political points. It's not important for this. The Nexstar Media Group, Nexstar, the biggest affiliate TV operator, drops Jimmy Kimmel Live immediately, saying it's offensive, the jokes were inappropriate, stuff like that. ABC and their parent company Disney, they suspend the show indefinitely. Within hours, all this happens. I'm sorry, there's an important caveat in there. Between the episode and him getting canceled, the FCC chair, Brendan Carr, goes on a podcast and calls Jimmy Kimmel's remarks truly sick and threatens action against the affiliates. So, to recap, a comedian makes a criticism of the president. The next day, the FCC chair threatens their license, and the next day after that, he's canceled. That's not a coincidence. That's a fucking shakedown. Really, the most dangerous thing about this whole fiasco, it's not about Jimmy Kimmel. Obviously, it's about the government using its authority to silence critics. That is completely unconstitutional. The First Amendment exists for one reason above all others: to protect speech that criticizes the jackholes in charge. The Founding Fathers didn't write it just so you could make fart jokes on open mic night. They wrote it so you could call out a president when he's corrupt, or incompetent, or senile, without ending up in handcuffs, or in this case, losing your crappy late-night TV show. The Supreme Court has said this again and again, most famously, New York Times versus Sullivan. They ruled that public officials cannot use their power to muzzle critics just because the criticism is harsh, even if the criticism is untrue and mistaken. Brandenburg versus Ohio. The court made it crystal clear, even extreme speech, even offensive speech, it is protected unless it directly incites violence. So, hey, that guy over there is an asshole. Perfectly okay. That guy over there is an asshole. Let's go burn his house down. Not okay. But when the government starts deciding who gets to speak and who doesn't, you don't have democracy anymore, do you? So I'm sorry, what would you say, Charles? What? Nexstar Media, they're not just another TV chain? What do you mean? They're trying to merge with Tegna Media for $6.2 billion? Whoa, and what did you say? Because that merger would give them a more than 39% market share in certain areas, it would require special FCC approval because it's a monopoly? Charles, hang on a second. You and I have been friends since we were children. Certainly you're not insinuating that when the FCC chair makes noises about your programming being sick and your license being jeopardized, you cut the cord on Jimmy Kimmel before your merger ends up going up in smoke? See, here's the key. When government officials use threats to push private actors into silencing speech, it is still a First Amendment violation. I hate to be a court nerd about this, but it's happened before here too. Bantam Books versus Sullivan. The Supreme Court said officials violated the First Amendment when they advised booksellers not to carry certain titles. Technically, no law was passed or broken at this point, but the threat of regulatory action is what it made unconstitutional coercion. That's what they called it. Backpage.com versus Dart. A sheriff sent letters pressuring credit card companies to stop doing business with Backpage.com. The court again ruled that's unconstitutional. Government can't use its bully pulpit to threaten private companies into cutting off speech. Norwood versus Harrison, 1973. Whatever. Variations on theme, it's all the same shit. The exact same thing as what happened here. A regulator leaned on affiliates, put the screws to them with billions in pending approvals, and magically, a very popular and very wide-reaching dissenter disappears from the airwaves. I don't have to tell this audience. This isn't about whether you like Jimmy Kimmel's jokes. Maybe you hate the guy. Maybe you're like me and you thought he's been unfunny since The Man Show. Maybe you haven't laughed at him since ever. It doesn't matter. If regulators can silence one critic, they can silence anyone. A few months ago it was Cowered. This week it was Jimmy Kimmel. Tomorrow it's John Oliver or Rachel Maddow. Just a couple of schmucks that goof around on the weekend. Hell, maybe even Fox News if they do anything he doesn't like. Like if they keep talking about Epstein. I don't think he'd like that very much. This isn't cancel culture. This is canceled by the government culture. This is communist Red China, Soviet-style censorship bullshit. Except instead of the Politburo apparatchiks, it's Mickey Mouse pulling the plug because the FCC is holding your $6 billion deal hostage. That's not broadcasting, that's racketeering. Admittedly, with breathtaking animation. Since we brought up ABC and Disney, let's just talk about Disney for a second, because they put up zero resistance. They didn't even pretend to defend their host. Not a statement about free speech, not we stand by our people, nothing. And all of this happened over the course of a business day. They folded faster than a cheap lawn chair in a hurricane. Fucking cowards. Pathetic. I guess we shouldn't be surprised. I mean, let's look at all the people he's attacked. Only Harvard University, they're the only ones that have had enough guts to push back. I can't believe it. Harvard. Those Ponzi schoolboys. Those retards from Boston. They're the only ones to show any goddamn spine in this authoritarian encroachment? So here's the real question. Is this just nervous corporations bowing to pressure? Maybe. Or is it the most blatant First Amendment violation in decades? I gotta throw a quote out here, because it's been going around on the internet. To announce that there must be no criticism of the president, or that we are to stand by the president, right or wrong, is not only unpatriotic and servile, it is morally treasonable to the American public. President Theodore Roosevelt. Because if Jimmy Kimmel can be silenced in this way, buddy, the next time you open your mouth against somebody in power, don't be surprised when they come after your mic too. Like, click, share, subscribe, do all that shit. Normally I'd say, or don't subscribe because I don't give a shit, but in this case, I give a shit and so should you.